Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Lee Johnson, and as you obviously gathered, this is my channel. But if you're interested in all the stuff regarding the occult, witchcraft, magic, demonology, all of that stuff, then I hope you enjoy yourself here. This is the Ask Uncle Lee segment that I do on a Wednesday. So if you have any questions in regards to any of those topics, you'd like a different perspective on something, different take on whatever it is, then just drop that in the comments to any of the Ask Uncle Lee videos, and I will be sure to add it to the list. So let's get started with today's questions. Join me over on Patreon, where you will find all of my books, services, and courses in the shop, blog posts, and the various tiers which you can explore. You can get magical training in the Temple of the Horned Serpent First Degree, and joining as a free member gets you started with that. Or explore the Magical Journal and the Egregore Project. Hope to see you there. Alright, so the first question today is from Kiyowata1. I have two questions to add to the list. Alright, so the first question is easy. The second question is quite long, so we're going to have to just read through that. But the first question, I apologise if I have asked this before, but I'm still unsure of what it means, specifically when people use the term, I have been working with X demon. Perhaps you could give some examples or experiences. So when we say working with, we mean just working alongside, really, working with the energy. So my own personal model, a lot of people think I incorporate the spirit model mostly, but it's actually the energy model. But when I work with spirits, I'm working with the energy of the spirit. So what I do, I call that the spirit in to my space or to myself. And then I work with the energy, therefore the vibration, the frequency, and the aim is for me to, my own vibrational frequency to resonate at the same level as that particular energy, which then brings me into resonance, which, allows me to accomplish what I need to accomplish within my magical working. So that's working with, in my understanding anyway. It's nothing really complicated. Even in when we talk about modern demonology, a lot of people have started using the term demonosophy to kind of separate from the idea of worship and bring it more into line with the idea of working with or walking alongside. But even within demonology, which is defined as the worship of demons, it's not, we've got to understand, I speak about over and over again on the channel, but we've got to understand the meaning behind the word worship. It's not about, getting down on your hands and knees and giving everything over to this spirit. Worship means being worthy of honor. So, if you are working with spirits that you find, just natural language, if you're working with spirits that you find are helping you, then you would probably consider them worthy of your honor and your respect. Therefore, you would technically say you are worshipping them. And it's just etymology, it's understanding of particular language. And, words have been taken out of context, left, right, and center. And obviously we have specific words which leave a bad taste in people's mouths because they probably come from a Christian background and they have that trauma connected to it. So even words like prayer, which is much older than Christianity, it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. So they don't really understand why people say, I am praying to a god, or I am praying to a goddess, or I'm praying to a daemon, etc., because they associate that with Christianity immediately. So this whole idea of worshipping and is not got anything to do with, submitting yourself in front of, or getting down on your knee and bowing to, in this kind of giving up everything that you are. It's quite the opposite, really. Anyway, so I think that covers that. Anyway, Second question. All right, so this is a long explanation, so bear with me. You can always skip through if you want to, but obviously you're going to miss the background of the question. I've realized lately that I want to understand the origins of Daemons, particularly the hierarchy. I've purchased a number of books, namely the Dictionary of Demons by Berlanger, and a series called Captivating History, which explores the ancient Near Eastern mythology of Mesopotamia, Canaan, Assyria, etc. What's difficult is there really isn't a separate, clear origin story for Satan, Lucifer, etc. that isn't a blend of. The figure of Satan is a synthesis of various religious and cultural elements, evolving from a more neutral adversary in early text to the personification of evil in later religious thought. His character draws from ancient myths, Jewish apocalyptic literature, Christian theology, and later cultural depictions, forming the complex and multifaceted figure we recognize today. In demonology, there is a specific prayer called the Demonic Creed. I believe in Satan, the ether of all that is, creator of the universe, and the spirit that binds the all together. I believe in and give my allegiance to Lucifer, the enlightenment of Satan, who was conceived by Ansere in compassion and understanding of all things. I give myself to the infernal flames of Baphometic fire, that I am reborn as the phoenix in Satan's name. Amen. That's the Demonic Creed. Perhaps for some, a foundation isn't that important, but for me it is. The closest I've come to a personal experience of what Satan is that it is the essence of the universe in a physics context. He is the atoms, the energy, the stuff of the universe. I'd like to hear what, if at all, you believe is the origin of these particular or your particular spirits are. As always, your answers are most helpful, and I hope I'm not hogging. No, not a problem. It's a great question, actually. But I think in most regards regarding this, you're going to be quite disappointed. There are no origins. It's not like you can take this entity, Satan, or Satan even, and say that this being started at this position, because there is no being, one singular being that is named Satan or Satan. Satan, yes, because it's a creation from the Christian church. So let's go before that. Satan, the word itself, it's not a being, it's a title. It's a job title. Same with Lucifer. Lucifer is a job title. He's the light bringer. Satan is the adversary. So, these are not singular beings that have this name. There are multiple beings that are light bringers. There are multiple beings and even people that are adversaries. And even this question came through before I did the Demon of the Week on Satan or Satan. So go back and have a look at that if you missed that one. That goes through some of the history of where the term Satan originated or came from, what it meant and what it applied to, and then the development of that into this Christian figure called Satan. That's, if you are trying to pinpoint or pin down the origin of a singular being whose name is Satan, then it's the Christian church. Nothing before that, because that's simply, it was a development out of something, out of the Hebrew, and they sort of, and in fact, we can't even say that that's a singular being, because when they refer to Satan, they're referring to all beings which are not their Christian God, and that's a multitude of entities which kind of get placed in this arena. And we can look at the word devil, for instance. That encompasses many, many, many gods, hundreds of them, tricksters, to the horn gods, to the crossroads gods, all of them. So these are not singular beings with a singular name. These are job titles. It's really all it is. So you really are going to be disappointed if you are trying to find an origin point. the only answer you can really come to in this regard is, what does it mean to you? And so far it looks like you are making progress on that. The demonic creed from demonolatry is one interpretation of what Satan is. In that regard, Satan is considered to be the element of ether, the element of spirit, the all. So an elemental being. But even when you look at the elemental beings within demonolatry, you've got the five. But if we look at the other four, Lucifer, Phalereus, Leviathan, and Belial, these are considered in that context to be elemental beings. But this is almost like working the same as calling the archangels to the four quarters and using them as elemental beings. You might find, I do anyway, you might find that when you call them in that aspect, and then you work with them on something which is different to just calling in the elemental forces to balance a space, for instance. Very different entity, very different energy. So when we are calling them as these watchtowers, as these elemental forces to stand at the quarters and to balance the space, that's one particular energy that they represent. But then you work with them. Like Lucifer, for instance. You can call in Lucifer as the elemental king of air, right? And that is a particular force. But when you start working with Lucifer beyond that, to gain gnosis and knowledge of spiritual knowledge, and to illuminate your path, to do all of these things which relate to the aspect of what Lucifer is, the light bringer, that's a very different kind of energy, and quite frankly, it feels like a completely different being. When I work with Lucifer in one context versus another context, it's a different entity that comes through. It's a different energy. And they're both light bringers, but they are just different aspects of it. But you said closest I've come to a personal experience of what Satan is that it is the essence of the universe in a physics context. He is the atoms, the energy, the stuff of the universe. There you go. So you've got a starting point, and that's going to develop. This is why we keep talking about worldviews. This is how you view the world, your universe, and things like that. So for you at this particular point in time, that's what Satan is for you. It's going to change because our worldviews keep changing, they keep evolving, and we build on them, we strengthen them, we throw things out because they don't serve us anymore. They keep changing, and it's going to keep changing for you. For me, Satan is the magical operator. So if you are trying to change your own personal circumstances, which often becomes adverse to what society is trying to fit you into, then you become the adversary, and therefore you become the Satan within your own space, within your own microcosm, within your own working arena. Okay, so that's my interpretation. I've met Satan as an individual being, as the father of Earth, the planet Earth, in one context, because that was the context that I was working in at the time. Totally different. When I work demonolatry, Satan is the not just myself, but also the ether, the elemental force. Totally different being altogether, but they're all Satan. Okay, no originating point, unfortunately. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next question. I think that's going to be it for today, because that would be 3 questions for the day. All right, this is from Maya is very friendly. Hello, Maya. Questions for the next video. Can you explain working with lesser demon spirits and why many people say working with smaller demons is dangerous? Okay, so this is going to boil down to, again, language, interpretation of language, etymology, all of those things. We have to look at first the word demon, which comes from the Latin and the Greek, daemon and daimon, which usually refers to, in terms of modern demonology, that gets interpreted as divine intelligence. In other areas, it gets interpreted as a tutelary spirit, sometimes referred to as a lesser spirit. Socrates spoke about the voice that would guide him as being the eudaimon. And, so we have all these various interpretations and such. When you go back really, really far, before the word theos came into play, daemon or daimon from the Greek kind of referred to all of these divine beings at one point. It involved or incorporated everything living, so we were daimons as well. All right, so got to look at terminology first, and also how the person is using that language themselves. Now, in my interpretation, if we're talking about lesser demons or lesser spirits, we're talking about spirits of a lower vibrational state, and these are the astral larvae or the astral parasites. And these beings don't really, they like to hook onto you and suck your energy dry, basically. Although they wouldn't actually do that, because if they did that, then there would be no food left. But you are basically their food. They are parasites. And what they do is they feed off negative emotions, negative energies, and all of these things. So they'll usually find somebody who is depressed or anxious or something like that, because it's good food for them. And then they'll latch on and they'll start promising things, and to the point where the person actually trusts them, because they start giving them things that they ask for, and then they will start creating more fear, more anxiety, more depression, because that gives them more food. All right, so those are usually what we're referring to when we talk about lesser demons or lesser spirits or smaller demons. And that's why they're dangerous, because all they're there for is to feed off your energy and your negative energy, and they will create it just to feed off more. And therefore you find yourself in a state where you're just a hollow shell, and you are depressed, and everything in the entire cosmos is just after you and wants to kill you, type of thing. It's a very difficult place to be in, especially if you've created a relationship, and a long, strong relationship with one. It's difficult to connect with them or disconnect with them. So, the advice is usually to avoid. Okay, so that's what I assume, you're talking about and other people are talking about when they refer to those particular things. That's my interpretation of those terms anyway. Alright, so that brings me to the end of this week's Ask Uncle Lee. Thank you for watching, and there'll be more next week. Cheers for now. Bye bye.